Well, greetings, fellow Whovians. Today we're going to be looking at a story that has, well, two titles. You can either call this one Doctor Who and the Silurians, or just the Silurians. But, for funsies, I'm going to call the story Doctor Who and the Silurians. Here we go. An experimental nuclear power research center built into a network of caves in Wenley Moor is experiencing mysterious power drains and mental breakdowns among staff. The unit is called in to investigate, and the third Doctor and Liz meet Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart at the plant. One of the workers is found dead with giant claw marks on his body, and his companion's mind has been traumatized to the extent that he could only scroll primitive cave drawings of reptilian creatures on walls. Lawrence, the director, resents the unit's presence and feels that it will interfere with the working of the plant, which is trying a new process to generate nuclear electric power. Dr. Quinn, the deputy director, not to be confused with Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, argues with Miss Dawson, his assistant, when she protests that they should stop them from taking the power. Major Baker, the security chief, believes there is a saboteur in the center, and the Doctor discovers that the logs of the nuclear reactor's operation have been tampered with. Dun dun dun! When the Doctor makes his way into the caves, he is attacked by a dinosaur-like creature before it is called off by a strange whistling sound. The Doctor takes samples of the blood from when he fired at the creature and finds similarities to higher reptiles. In the meantime, the creature goes to the surface and stumbles into a barn to hide. Quinn goes into the caves to Hidden Base, where he demands the knowledge he was promised. He is told that he must first help the wounded creature and is given a signal device which emits the sound heard earlier. The creature is discovered by a farmer and his wife and attacks them. The farmer dies of a heart attack, but the wife survives and identifies her attacker. While investigating the barn, Liz is knocked unconscious by the creature and it flees. The Brigadier and the Doctor follow the creature's tracks and they find the end in tire marks. The Doctor goes to Quinn's cottage and notes that it is remarkably hot, like a reptile house. Breaking into Quinn's office, the Doctor finds a globe that depicts the Earth's continents as they were 200 million years ago, along with notes about the Silurian era of Earth's history. When the Doctor goes back to the cottage to reason with Quinn, he finds him dead. The Doctor retrieves the signal device from Quinn's body and is surprised by the wounded Silurian. The Doctor tries to talk to the creature, but it runs away. Looking for answers, Baker enters the caves and is captured and interrogated by the Silurians about the strength of humans. The Doctor and Liz follow his route and open the entrance to the Silurian base with Quinn's signal device, where they find him in a locked cage. They leave to inform Unit, but not before they see a Silurian being revived from hibernation by a machine, explaining the energy drains that the actor has been experiencing. Meanwhile, Masters, the permanent Under-Secretary in charge of the center, arrives, and Lawrence complains to him about Unit's interference. The Doctor tells him about the Silurians in the caves, urging peaceful contact. However, this falls on deaf ears when Miss Dawson reveals that Quinn was killed by the Silurian he held captive. The Doctor goes to warn the Silurians, but they put him in a cage. The other Silurian tells the Doctor how the race retreated underground when they saw the moon approaching Earth millions of years ago. The hibernation mechanism malfunctioned, and they did not revive until a new power source was discovered. A young Silurian orders Baker infected with the virus before he is released. An older Silurian releases the Doctor, giving him a canister of the virus so he can discover a cure. The younger Silurian kills the older one for his act. The Doctor reaches the center and warns everyone to stay away from Baker, who collapses with the virus. Master, however, decides to return to London, unaware that he has been infected. Baker is taken to a local hospital and dies. Dun dun dun. The Doctor returns to the center to work on a cure. Masters, in the meantime, has reached London and loots the search parties looking for him. The virus spreads and deaths begin. The Doctor finds a cure, but the Silurians attack the center and stun him with their third eyes, taking him away. Liz discovers the formula for the cure and is soon mass-produced and distributed. The Silurians, however, intend to use the weapon to destroy the Van Allen belt and make the Earth's environment hostile to humankind, and they want to force the Doctor to use the reactor to provide power to the weapon. The The Doctor overloads the reactor and tells the younger Silurian that the area will be irradiated for at least 25 years. The Silurians re-enter the caves to hibernate until the danger has passed. Because the mechanism is faulty, the younger Silurian will stay awake to operate it and sacrifice his life. The Doctor and Liz, meanwhile, repair the reactor and go to the underground base, where the younger Silurian realizes he has been duped into sending his race back to sleep. He attacks the Doctor in a rage, but is shot by the Brigadier. Later, the Doctor tells Liz that he proposes to revive the Silurians and try to reach a peaceful compromise between them and humanity. However, the Brigadier has other orders, and the Silurian base is blown up. The Doctor is horrified at this act of genocide. Bliss suggests that the Brigadier was acting on orders of his superiors. Whew, sheesh. Some heavy stuff going on there, huh? Anyway, let's get some continuity to production elements of the story. This story marks the first appearance of the Doctor's yellow vintage car, Bessie. The Doctor remarks in this episode, "You know, I'm beginning to lose confidence for the first time in my life," and that covers several thousand years. This comment adds to the many conflicting ages for the Doctor provided in the television series over the years. The term Silurian is never actually used by the creatures themselves, only by humans and the Doctor. Its use resulted in many letters from scientists and geologists who argue that it was impossible for a reptilian life form to have existed in the Silurian period. The Doctor places the Silurian 200 million years ago, around 200 million years too recent. In the later The Sea Devils, the Doctor admits that the name Silurian is inaccurate and states that they should more probably be called Eocenes, again an unlikely candidate for the creature's own era. Both names are mentioned in The Hungry Earth, along with the more generalized Homo reptilia. The Virgin New Adventures, beginning with Love and War, refer to the creatures as Earth reptiles for the most part. Ben Oranovich's The Also People calls them indigenous Terrans. The Sea Devils, the aquatic cousins of the Silurians, would appear in The Sea Devils. The Sea Devils and the Silurians return in Warriors of the Deep. In Warriors of the Deep, both they and the Sea Devils use Silurian to refer to themselves. The Virgin New Adventures novel Blood Heat features an alternate universe where the Doctor died in captivity during the events of the serial, and Earth was subsequently conquered by the Silurians. The Virgin Missing Adventures novel, The Scales of Injustice, is both a sequel to this story as well as a prequel to the events of Warriors of the Deep. Other novels of both series, such as The Also People and Happy Endings, reveal that at some point the Silurians will be revived and successfully integrated with human society. Yay! The Silurians also appear in the Big Finish Productions audio play Blood Tide, which explains why they did not wake up from hibernation and what role they played in human evolution. They also appear in Unit the Coup, an attempt to create a peace with mankind, with the aid of General Lethbridge Stewart. After the previous story, producers Derek Shore and Peter Bryant, who was originally to have producers credit on the story, were transferred to the television series Paul Temple, and the BBC intended for Barry Letts to become producer. However, Letts was committed to another production. It could not be released until after the location work on Silurians was completed. Script editor Terrence Dix and his assistant Trevor Ray shared the production responsibilities for the location work. The incidental music for the serial was composed by Kerry Blyden, who would also contribute music for Death to the Daleks and Revenge of the Cybermen. This is the first story to be recorded using color studio cameras. The previous serial, Spearhead from Space, was the first in color, but was shot entirely on location, i.e. outside the electronic TV studio, and on film, as opposed to videotape, the standard method for recording Doctor Who. Due to the move to color, the production team made use of a technique known as Color Separation Overlay, CSO or chroma key, which allowed images to be superimposed over each other using color separation. This was extensively used in the series for many years, beginning with this serial. Location filming took place at Marylebone Station in London on November 12, 1969, but after the prints were damaged, the scenes were reshot on November 24th after the rest of the serial had been finished. Other location work was undertaken in Surrey, with Heathland scenes filmed at Hankley Common. This was the only time the name Doctor Who was used in the title of a serial on screen, although Episode 5 of The Chase was titled The Death of Doctor Who on screen and at the end of Gunfighters. The caption read, "Next week, Doctor Who and the Savages." Although it was common in production paperwork to prefix Doctor Who and to the story title at the time, The prefix was usually dropped when the director ordered the titles from the captioning department for transmission. However, this was not done for this particular story. The reasons this happened are not entirely clear. Director Timothy Comstate said he was presented with a story called Doctor Who and The Silurians, and that it was always intended that the serial go out with that name. However, as Doctor Who historian Andrew Pixley points out, this was Combs' first serial as a full director. There was effectively no producer at this time, as noted above. In addition, the rehearsal scripts for the serial simply have The Silurians as the title. Pixley theorizes that Combs was unaware of the standard production practice and gave the order to the captioning department for the proper title, as he believed it to be at the time. Whichever the case, production paperwork from this point on stopped the practice of adding the prefix, perhaps as a measure to prevent the mistake from happening again. Actor Paul Darrow will return to the series playing Tecker in Time Lash, and also appeared in the audio play The Next Life. Jeffrey Palmer, who played Masters, also appears in The Mutants and in Voyage of the Damned. Peter Mouse later played Professor Whitaker in Invasion of the Dinosaurs and Nider in Genesis of the Daleks. He also played Tragan in the radio drama The Paradise of Death and Gammon in the audio play Whispers of Terror. Norman Jones had previously appeared as Krishong in The Abominable Snowman and later played Hieronymus in The Mask of Mandragora. So, an interesting story overall, and hey, so the introduction of an alien species that we would see again later on. So, overall, I give Doctor Who and the Silurians 3 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Well, join me next week as we meet the Ambassadors of Death. So, until then, this is Hoobie and Queen saying, "Oh my Gideons! When I say run, run, I've a Spoleto, the neutron flow. Would you like a chili, baby? Fantastic! Allons-y! Geronimo!" Bow ties are cool, fezzes are cool, and Stetsons are cool.